Hello, Mountaineers. We are your hosts for today's session on living on campus, presented by University Housing Office. So I'm your host. My name is Jawoin Williams. I'm a coordinator for University Housing here at Appalachian State University. Stephen?
And I'm Stephen Salazar. I'm also a coordinator here with App State.
So we're going to be answering some questions about living on campus. Some of you guys have submitted questions via social media or email, and we're here to answer some of them. We also found some really good questions to ask each other to hopefully answer for you before you arrive on campus. So we're going to get this started. So we're going to ask each other questions and just bounce ideas around to each other. Okay? So, Stephen?
Yeah. So, Jawoin, can you talk to us about single or double rooms? Like, will students be have the option to live in a single or double room, or what's that look like?
So more likely than not, you'll be housed in a double room when you arrive here on campus. And if you contact housing at appstate.edu, once you arrive here and you have questions about that process, about getting a single room, contact them, talk to your hall supervisor. We're going to get into later what a hall supervisor is. And if you have special accommodations needed, you'll also be contacting our Office of Disability Resources. And those are questions related to single rooms and stuff like that. So that's a great question. I have a question for you, Stephen. Do the room sizes vary depending on the residence hall?
Yes, they do. Not all room sizes are the same across all the buildings. That's definitely a part of the reason why there are different room rates. To take a look at what the different sizes might be, you can actually visit our housing.appstate.edu website, and you can click on residence halls and then click on specific residence hall, especially if you know which one you're living in. You can scroll down. There are actually awesome pictures, 3D views of what those rooms look like, so you can get a good feel of what you'll be walking into on move-in day. Jawoin, are the residence halls co-ed or single sex?
That's a great question. So it varies by the building that you'll be housed in. So say, for example, you're in like a Hoey Residence Hall, which I'm in right now. Then you're going to be living in a co-ed space. Now, if you're going to be housed in, like, let's say, a white residence hall, which is one of our building names here, then you will be staying in a single-sex building. So it'll be female gendered assignments in that space. We also have single-gender spaces in our Appalachian Panhellenic housing spot, which is APH for short, and different halls like that on campus. So a majority of our spaces are co-ed on campus. So Hoey Hall is co-ed by the room. So you're gonna have a room, with you and your roommate sharing the same gender, and then the room next to you is gonna probably be somebody of the opposite gender or even the same gender, but they're gonna be co-ed by the room. So you may be in the same hall with people who have opposing genders to you. That's a great question. Stephen, I got a question for you. Do you have access to internet in your room?
Yes. When you get here, you'll notice right away when you click on the Wi-Fi that there is options for visitor and secure. The visitor is going to be the easiest one to connect to. You connect to that one on your phone and your computer. It works just the same. The difference is that the secure internet will be, of course, more secure, but there is a process you'll have to work through. You can visit, I believe you can visit IT's website to figure out how to connect your computer to that secure. And you can also do that with different devices like your Xbox, your PlayStation. But of course, again, there's another process you'll have to go through to get those connected, but it will offer you the ability to play online games and do those things that you've been doing before you moved in. Next question, Jawoin. Is there a study space for students to hang out with their friends when they get here, like an indoor common area?
Yeah, so many of our residence halls, they have lobbies within the floor itself, or on the floor, not in the floor itself. But each floor will have like a little lobby, a common area for students to kind of congregate at. And then within the building itself, there's kind of like a study room or a main lobby. And that will be an area where a lot of programs and activities within the building will take place. Now, a lot of things are going to be changing due to COVID. This is the recent coronavirus event that our country, our nation is experiencing at this moment. So a lot of policies are going to be changing in regards to common areas, especially indoors within residence halls on campus here. So just being on the lookout for rule changes from what we had in the past to what we're going to have in the future. A lot of it is going to change, and it may affect your housing experience. But you're going to look at the positives, and you're going to have fun here on campus regardless. Stephen, what furniture does the residence hall provide?
Yeah, so just like a little bit like I mentioned before, this is going to be another housing.appstate.edu website check. You're going to want to go there, and again, you'll click on residence halls, and you'll scroll down and click on room amenities. That's going to tell you everything that that room will come with, specific to that residence hall. And then once you take a look at that, get familiar with it, because it'll help you figure out, well, what should I bring to campus? A big question we get also is, can I take those things out of the room, or can I bring my own stuff? You can bring your own furniture items. However, you can't take anything out of the room that is already in the room. So the room needs to stay the same, because you are responsible for those items in the room. If they were to get lost, you get charged. And so our general rule is that those items stay in the room. Jawoin, next question. Are beds arranged in a loft or a bunk bed style, or can you change those things? Can you change the way your room looks? What's that look like?
Yeah. So once you check into your room, once after check-in, all the glorious mess that happens with move-in day just kind of settles down, you could kind of rearrange your room in a way that's safe for you and your roommate. So some rooms may be already installed in a bunk bed style. Try to coordinate that with your RA to see if you could move items around. Talk to your RA. There may be a maintenance request required for you to debunk the beds, or even request a loft. Different buildings have different expectations when it comes to lofting beds. So I don't want to get into the nitty gritty here, because each building on campus is very specific to their needs and expectations when it comes to the bed style. Some rooms may be small, and the only way to have it arranged is in a bunk bed situation. So really kind of do like a survey of the room when you move in. That's a good question.
And then I also have another question. Is there a computer lab in each residence hall, or what do we do as far as wireless printers or things like that?
Yeah, so from my experience, looking at different residence halls here on campus, I had the opportunity to drive around, just check it out, a lot of the cool spots. Computer lab that I found available to students is in the LLC. So a lot of computers will be available to students in that area. I think approximately 6 is available. In each residence hall in general, though, there's not a computer lab available for students. But you asked about printers. There are printers available at the West Service Desk. You have to go there during the office hours times. So when you get here on campus, kind of scout things out, or look at the internet and look at what hours are, the service desk going to be open for, and try to plan your printing needs around those office hours, especially if you need a printer just immediately to print up a paper or things like that. That's a good question. Stephen, I'm going to bounce it back to you and ask a question. Is there a kitchen on every floor?
So again, this is one of those questions. Well, I guess that the simple answer is no. There's not a kitchen on every floor in residence halls, but most residence halls do have a kitchen somewhere. So you'll just, again, once you know what building you're assigned to, you're going to want to look into what amenities that building has, especially when it comes down to the kitchen. If there is a refrigerator in the kitchen, students do put some of their things in there, and they've labeled their things, but you never want to leave anything behind that you're super worried about, because again, anyone can access it. And then sometimes it used to be that you could check out some kitchenware from the front desk, but I think with the way that COVID is right now and the different circumstances that have been brought, that's probably going to change this year. So you'll want to look into probably maybe bringing your own kitchen supplies, depending on what kind of needs you'll have. I will add just simply to the question I asked Jawoin. I threw him a bit of a curveball when it came to wireless printers. You don't want to bring a wireless printer. If you bring your own printer, make sure you bring one that connects to your computer manually, because wireless printers will interfere with other things in the building, and kind of, I guess, in short terms, become quite a nuisance to the rest of your peers in the building. So definitely don't want to be, if it has wireless, I would turn that off when you get here. Sorry about that, Jawoin.
No. That's a good question. I totally missed that wireless part of your question. I've been in residence halls where one wireless printer will take out the whole entire internet for like a whole entire floor, even the building
Yeah.
itself. So you gotta be careful with that stuff. I got a
Yeah.
question. One more, or another,
Okay.
not one,
Okay.
another question for you. What is the laundry room situation like in these residence halls?
Yeah. So the laundry rooms. Each building does have laundry rooms. Usually it's just like one central room where there are multiple laundry machines. And the way you go about using those, so you have your app card, which will have your express and regular app money on it. And there's a swipe card there that you can swipe, and then you would click in what laundry machine you're using or what dryer you're using. And that's how you go about using it. You can use coins to use the machines, and that'll just be located directly on the machine itself. Of course, you might not remember this by the time you get here. Wonderfully, almost all of our laundry rooms do have a sign that tell you how to use those laundry machines. Also remember, when you use the laundry machines, sometimes students have the tendency to leave the machines alone, and they leave them unattended. We're not responsible if you do leave it unattended and something happens. So you're going to want maybe to bring your own chair downstairs, not the one from your room. Maybe if you have a foldable chair, or maybe you just want to find a place to sit down, and just keep an eye on your things. It's just going to be the best practice for you. There have been instances of some issues happening when students leave their clothes alone. So we'll move on to the next question, Jawoin. Will students be sharing the bathroom with an entire floor or just a few residents in the building?
That's a good question. So a lot of our residence halls, they have different styles to them. And, in the housing world, we call them traditional and suite style. To newcomers on the campus, that may be new terminology for a lot of you. So let me break it down a little bit. So traditional style bathrooms is basically a style of bathroom is where multiple residents on a single floor will share that bathroom. When I talk about a bathroom, when I'm talking about one single stall and one single sink, there's multiple stalls and multiple sinks within this bathroom for our residents to share together. Suite style is a little bit different. You'll be sharing a bathroom with a smaller number of people. The bathroom space could be shared between you and multiple others between a number of rooms. So they can also be called sister suites because they're next to each other. So if a suite is next to each other, you'll be sharing some type of space with them, and maybe bathroom space together. Did I answer that question fully, Stephen? Or
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Okay. So this is battle of the areas question over here. Do you want me to ask it, or you want to ask it?
I can ask the question. We just kind of talked about. So we're moving on, just sort of some of the culture that we have around the campus. And so we want to definitely talk about the advantages of living both on west and the east side of campus. You can see that again on our housing website, how that breakdown looks like and which buildings are on what side of campus. But we definitely just kind of talk about them as like west side and east side of campus.
Yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit about the west side. Talking about the closest dining hall, there is a dining hall located close to Newland Hall. It's called Trivet Hall, where the Trivet Dining Hall is. It's not our main dining hall that students use, but it is a good location for the West Side students to visit. We do have like a McAllister's Express there, as well as a market, and so that's a benefit for living on West Campus. What about East Side?
So the east side, the closest dining halls, it kind of varies. Some of them are really spread out, but a lot of the dining halls will be in the Plymouth Student Union, and then there will be one main central dining hall called Royce Dining Hall, and that is closer towards the center part of campus, and that's pretty close to the east side. But in the Plymouth Student Union, we have McAllister's, we have different cafes where you get coffee, you can get like a hot dog made. There's different varieties, and we also have markets available too near these dining halls, which is very convenient for our students who prefer to cook their own food or like provide their own resources. They can use like their funds at those markets. Royce Dining Hall has an upper and lower level to it. The upper level is more so, self-serve style. The food is kind of laid out. You pay for what you're taking out. Some of it is weighted. So if you're trying to get a salad, they're going to weigh the salad and charge you for the amount there that's appropriate to it. And then the bottom part, the downstairs, I think it's called the Standard Hall, is going to be more so grab and go. So if you want a piece of pizza, grab it, go, you pay for that piece of pizza there. And that's the variation between the two dining halls. And then, yeah, that's my question. So my question go ahead, Stephen.
I was saying, I will say that of course, that's another thing that's going to look different this upcoming fall semester and possibly the entire year, how dining halls are run. So some of this information might be a little outdated. It all just depends on what it looks like this upcoming fall semester with COVID.
Yeah, that's true. So how far are the residence halls from classes, like from the traditional classes?
Yeah, so it's definitely going to depend. You're going to want to, once you moved on campus and you kind of get into the flow of things of your major and all those things, you're going to notice just how far it is a walk from your room to your classes. And you might start to wonder if there's something even closer. So again, that's another thing you're going to want to check into when you get here. There is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, the option if you wanted to move rooms, if that's something you like, and you're okay with kind of changing that community atmosphere, or maybe, in the coming year, if you're able to live on campus, might be something that kind of closely, like we'll say, like the communications students, the buildings closest to that are probably going to be something like the LLC or Mountaineer, and then after that West Side, and then after that, of course, the East Side. So it's really going to pay attention once you get your residence hall assignment. Take a look at what buildings your classes are in, and start to really plan maybe even the best route to your classes, or the day before classes start. Take a walk around campus just to see how long it takes you to get to class. So you're not late on that first day.
Yeah, I completely agree. Kind of map things out once you get here, because if you are taking a lot of health sciences classes, you may be actually driving or taking the bus to your next class. And this question is going to be kind of hard for us to answer if you're taking that far of a trip just to get to classes. On the east side, there's a lot of classes or a lot of classroom areas where we have we call the education building. We have a lot of our science buildings over here and different things like that. And there's a lot of classes available to students in this area, but it's still going to be a long walk. You're going to be walking up a hill regardless. So if you're in the east side or west side, just prepare for a little bit of a hike just to get to some of your classes, and try to plan logistically and smartly when you get into that situation. Football stadium. What is the advantages on east side of campus, Stephen?
You mean west side? Well, just west side buildings are located right by the football stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So if football is your thing and you enjoy the hanging out with people, of course, from east side, you can always walk over there. People, everyone's welcome, of course, to view football and hang out. But west side's definitely going to be the spot to be if that's something you want to walk right outside and see who's hanging out before the game. Of course, what that will look like this year, we don't know, but I know in the past years it's always been a good time. So why don't we'll move on now from those things. Of course, I guess we can talk about, are there any other advantages that you feel you can talk about for east side?
I know for east side, one big advantage is the access or proximity to the Plymouth Student Union. That's where a lot of activities will take place. You may hear, news postings about, hey, come to this fair, career fair, things like that, or this type of activity is going to be happening here. that will probably most likely happen in Plymouth Student Union or in a different location. And we also have a lot of really fun, engaging concerts here on campus. I remember Doja Cat presented a show here, and that was at Legends. Legends is kind of like a little local venue that the university owns, and they kind of have like really cool shows going on. Battle of the Bands, Doja Cat, different artists who appear there. Just like a small, intimate location. Now, due to COVID, that'll probably greatly change in terms of experience for our students. So I'm not sure how that's going to look, but those are things that's really kind of natural to the east side over here. And yeah, so that's an advantage. That's all I have, though.
All right. So Jawoin, move on to the next question. Just, of course, on the context of culture and kind of things that students can see when they get here, they're going to notice a door on their floor that's labeled resident assistant. What is a resident assistant?
So a resident assistant is somebody who's a student leader. They've been recognized, by the housing department as somebody who's a good resource for both incoming students and also returning students, upperclassmen. They could kind of point you in the right direction and help you like mediate different thought processes that you're kind of going on with, and kind of like help build community within or on the residence hall floor or within the building itself. So RA is a unique position. It's a leadership position. And a lot of students who are RAs are just like you, just like incoming students. They've been in your position before, so they get it. They understand what homesickness feel like. They understand what going through your first semester tough class is like, or trying to figure out what your major is like. Our RA is a good resource, and they're there to help you out. Just be, not necessarily just to be a friend, but just somebody to help get you in the right direction if you have questions. That's a good one. So you may look around your building and notice there's a RD sticker everywhere. What is a RD? Well, Stephen, can you answer that question for me?
Yeah, I can. So the RD is a residence director. They live in the building, probably on the first or second floor, and their job's a little bit different from the RA. They're usually the RA supervisor, and they direct the RAs. They help mediate the conflicts in the building, depending if they've kind of escalated. They deal with conduct, but a major part of their design is to continue to support the RAs and make sure that community is being built in the building. Their primary concern is the benefit that you can have by living on campus. And then so we do have some resident directors that are also kind of dual coordinators. So Jawoin, why don't you talk about what a coordinator is and maybe the difference between the resident director and the coordinator?
Yeah, so the resident director role is a role that is tied closely to what we call a graduate assistantship. So a lot of those RDs are students like you, but at a higher level. They already finished their undergrad degree. Now they're working their graduate degree in a field that's relevant to their interest. And a coordinator is basically the supervisor of an RD. And they also share some responsibilities in terms of supervision of a residence hall. But a lot of coordinators are actually full-time staff. They receive their master's degrees, and now their direction is kind of to guide the community within the area of supervision, but also like in the other areas, and try to guide the RDs through their process of supervision too. Coordinators, they're probably going to be the one emailing you about conduct situations or very serious matters. So coordinators are a little bit more of a full-time position, and in terms of residence hall culture. Did I answer the question fully, or did I miss something, Stephen?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect.
Okay. So, Stephen, got a question for you.
Okay.
I kind of walked into my room, and I noticed something's damaged. What do I do?
Great question. So you can, when you walk into your room, or let's just say maybe even halfway through the year, you notice that one of the blinds in your room has become damaged or broken, you can submit what we call a work order request, and that's located. You can find that maintenance request form. Sorry, it's better, but it's better known for on the housing.appstate.edu website. Of course, so that form can be a little tough to fill out. And so your RA is going to be your best resource for that we just talked about. So that way they can help you fill out some of those small details that you might not know. But it's hugely important to remember that as you go throughout the year, getting those things fixed, dealing with them sooner rather than later is going to help you avoid maybe some charges at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So Jawoin, kind of moving on with our processes and kind of how we do things here. Some students are probably going to have questions about what breaks they can stay on campus for, as well as breaks that they go home for. Some of those things, of course, we know are going to be a little bit different due to the current circumstance, but typically what residence halls are open during break? Or are they open during break?
Yeah, traditionally in the past, residence halls that will remain open for break are going to be residence halls where students can kind of support themselves really well over there. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mountaineer Hall was the area that was open during the past winter break. And then can I think of anything else? App Heights, was that open last year?
I believe so winter break's always going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, it should be that this year, I think we're moving our break housing to buildings 1 and 200. If I remember correctly, of course, we will say typically winter break is going to be just completely different. You're going to want to look for emails from your residence director and coordinator. Of course, we just talked about those. You're not going to want to ignore those emails when it comes closer to a break, and that'll help better clarify if the building will be open or not.
Yeah. In terms of other breaks, though, just be on the lookout. You may be questioning, Thanksgiving break, fall break, spring break. What does that look like for me? Just be on the lookout from emails from your hall supervisor, aka RD indoor coordinator, about those particular dates, and even checking the school academic calendars for those particular dates and details about that. Because we're changing to a drastically different process due to the coronavirus event, things will be different coming up next year in terms of what those breaks are going to look like in those particular dates. So thank you for answering most of the question for me, Stephen.
No, it was a combined effort.
Yeah. So, Stephen, I got a question for you. I have this pet I really like a lot. Can I bring him with me?
No.
Oh.
Short answer is no. The long answer is something that you'll have to look better into. Depending on your situation, animals classified as pet, typically you don't bring. What you can bring is the pronunciation of this is beyond me. But you can bring what is classified as a bony fish or Ostichicolus. I can't pronounce it no matter how hard I try. And we classify that very specifically for a reason. You can look into our pet policy more in depth to find specifically what fish are categorized as such. And the max tank size that you can bring is 10 gallons. So anything outside of that you can't bring. If depending on maybe some situations, they might look at, I'll say this, pets are not allowed besides that one category. We can talk more about that later as we answer some future questions. All right, go ahead.
Oh, just to add some clarification to that too. So bony fish are like fish that have bones in them, not cartilage. So you try to bring your shark tank here and your shark, that's not going to work out for you. I tried that one time. It was a failure. So don't try to bring a shark here on campus. All right. So the next question is roommate agreements, question mark?
Yeah, so when you get onto campus, this is just a part of the campus living part. We want to make sure that your living arrangement and the things that with your roommate go smoothly. So we've created this document that you'll get a paper printout of called the roommate agreement. In that, and kind of the point we want to drive here is because there is no specific how long can someone stay in your room at nighttime. That's something you're going to want to talk through with your roommate. We do have And this is going to be covered in another video, a guest policy saying that, people can't stay more than 3 or 4 consecutive nights or 10 nights within a semester. But just for the sake of living on campus, you're going to want to talk to your roommate and really determine how long can someone stay in the room, and are you okay with the significant other staying in the room, things like that. Those are going to be the important questions to go along, as well as so it might be that even though you have this roommate agreement, you're not getting along well with your roommate. You can switch rooms after about 2 or so weeks of on campus. Of course, as is a lot of the things we've been saying, some of that might change the way it looks this upcoming semester, but typically there is the ability to change rooms if things aren't working out, or maybe, like I said earlier, you just want to be closer to your classes, or you find someone else on campus that you are more agreeable with and you want to live with them. So go ahead. Next
Okay.
question.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
So I'm coming to campus. I'm bringing a lot of really cool swaggy stuff with me. I got my Beats by Dre headphones. I have my Xbox here, and I have my fancy cell phone right here, and a really cool brush. Do I need to get personal property insurance for my room?
It's a great question. And that you can find a more in-depth answer on our housing website. I do want to say that you're first going to want to talk to your parents to see if possibly their homeowner insurance covers you. And while you're at college, that's going to be your most important first step. If for some reason they don't cover you coming to live here on the college campus, you can get your own renter's insurance, and it's encouraged to do that because you never know what's going to happen. I won't talk about any specific things. It's just going to be good for you to look into to have when you get on campus, just to make sure that you're protected in those ways.
Yeah.
So, Jawoin, are the residence halls locked at night or any time during the day? And what do you need to get into the building?
Yeah, so residence halls are going to be locked basically 24/7. There's not going to be many opportunities where you just walk up to your residence hall and you see it's like wide open, doors is free to go in. We do have key card access. This is your key card right here. It has my name on it. So this is what my app card would look like. It gives me access into the building via key card swipe. And it's really convenient. I don't have to press any buttons and numbers to get into my residence hall. So they're locked for a reason, for your safety and ours and everybody else's. And if you leave the door open for more than 30 seconds on the exterior part of the building, the alarms will go off. So just be on the lookout for that, and try to not let any strangers in that you like. Don't let anybody in that you don't recognize or who's not with you. That is a big issue that I want to bring across, because that will compromise the safety of the building. We have key cards for a reason. The doors are always going to be locked for a reason. Do your part.
Point. That's a good point.
So, Stephen, transitioning to that question a little bit further, is there a curfew in the residence halls?
That's a good question. I'd never known a college campus to have a curfew. Some do. We do not. You are responsible for how late you stay up at night or how far you go without coming into the building. And that's going to be super important into your adjustment of life here and living on campus. It's going to be a different kind of freedom depending on what kind of life situation you come from. And so just be prepared to think to yourself, should I be out this late? Who knows? That's really up to you because we won't be, your card access will get you into the building at any point during the day.
Yeah.
So Jawoin, is there a list of prohibited items that students can or can't bring while they come to live on campus, as it being maybe an adjustment to life thing that they like? Some things, maybe they love fireworks. Can they bring fireworks?
You definitely can't bring fireworks onto campus. So please don't try to bring fireworks onto campus. If you have a question about if something is prohibited or not, check the website, appstate.edu, housing policies, and is listed on that section of the website as prohibited items. Now, probably the other videos are going to talk about it a little bit further. But just try to use a little bit of common sense, when coming to college campus. Like, maybe you shouldn't bring, a weapon. That's probably not gonna be the best idea. Or fireworks, or an animal as a pet that is not a bony fish, Just try to be careful with things that you're going to bring on the campus, especially within your residence hall, and try to think about what would you like to live with in terms of like disruption in your room. Like you probably wouldn't want to live with, crazy number of electronics eating up all the outlets. So like be careful what you're bringing into the space. So look at the prohibited items list. That list is there for a reason. And yeah, so there's another question.
Yeah. Jawoin, are there security guards or security cameras in the buildings?
Yeah, so the security cameras are kind of featured on the outside part of the building, kind of seeing who's entering and exiting the spaces at different times. That is there for your safety and everybody else's safety. They're there to record the activity in and out. So if there's any incidents, they can kind of log that there. Security guards, we do have basically levels of safety within our residence halls on campus. We have Appalachian State Police Department. Their response time is fantastic because Appalachian State Police Department is within App State itself. So they police the buildings, the exterior part. We also have another level of safety. We call them our resident assistants who do rounds at nights. And then we also have our night assistants. And, RAs and night assistants, they're there to support you, but they're not security guards. Their role is to report incidents and to report it to the appropriate responders during the situation. So yeah, that's my question there. Well, that's my answer to the question. So if you do see security cameras, they're going to be pointed directly at the doors and kind of like logging who enters and who exits at that time. And that's why it's important to, make sure you're not letting any strangers into the building or people you don't recognize into the building, because it's going to be logged. But just make sure, that we're keeping the building secure. So, question: I want to know a little bit about the safety on campus, the crimes. Can you answer that for me, Stephen?
Yeah. You can find that crime log, or whatever you want to call it. You can find that on the police.appstate.edu website, just to inform yourself on the kind of things that are common on this campus, as well as a way to help prepare yourself for how often things might happen on campus. It's used for different reasons. It's a good resource to look over. So just our encouragement to look into that. So moving on, kind of to just on campus. Of course, we're talking about campus living. So we also want to talk about ways to be involved on campus. Jawoin, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's many different ways to become involved on campus. I'm technically a product of becoming involved on campus where, our freshman year, I became involved in sports, athletics, RA, different campus jobs. So when you get here on campus, there's different opportunities to become involved. You will be introduced to something called Welcome Week. Now that may change coming in the future, how that would look like from the past. But Welcome Week is an event where basically we're trying to get you guys to be engaged with one another, students-wise. So there'll be different activities. Another way to get involved here on campus is within your residence hall. We have NRHH, and we also have Hall Council. You're going to be getting a lot of emails about participation in these activities, in these events. There's different ways to get involved too. I mentioned the Plymouth Student Union. That whole building contains departments to help you become engaged and involved on campus through different organizations and groups. There is multicultural offices. There is offices dedicated to just service and involvement. Try to explore that building. Look out for emails for the Appalachian State University announcements. There's events going on all the time. You can get involved easily. If you have trouble getting involved, talk to your RA. Your RA is there on the same floor with you. It can kind of point you in the right direction, or even invite you to some of the meetings that they participate in. So, Stephen, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Where can I pick up my mail?
It's a great question. We do have an on-campus post office, and each student does have a PO box, so you'll want to find the location for that. I don't believe there's a different one on the west side. I believe all campus mail goes to the post office located behind the Plymouth Student Union. And then packages work a little bit different than mail does. you do pick up packages at the west or east side service desk. Packages that are delivered by FedEx or UPS. USPS, you still pick those up at the post office. All right, Jawoin, are there any services that are available to students with disabilities?
Yeah, so that is the first thing that I looked for when I came here on campus, for like what resources are available. We have the Office of Disability Resources here for our students. And I kind of referenced it earlier in terms of if you're looking for accommodations, that office is there to support students with disabilities. And there's no shame, there's no judgment if you visit the office. That office is there to support you and sometimes be the liaison between you and even the academic side of the university life. So if you're having trouble with taking tests and you just want to talk to somebody about it, go visit the Office of Disability Resources. It can help you out. For short, it's called ODR. So like if your friends are asking you, where you going? I'm like, I'm going to ODR. So like you don't have to, pronounce it fully. But yeah, there's fabulous resources there for you. If you have questions about that, talk to your RA, talk to your RD, talk to your coordinator. I've personally walked students there myself just to get them a little bit acclimated and familiar with that space and those resources available. That's a great question. Thank you.
And yeah, no problem. And then, of course, one of our last questions, last things we'll talk about, I'm moving on to campus and I'm trying to figure out where do I park my car?
Woo, that's a good question. So there's different parking spots for students on campus that's available. I'm going to go through like a quick list, but the full list is available on the App State website. Just Google even parking appstate.edu and you'll find it. So student parking areas is the Hill Street parking lot, River Street parking deck, Justice Gardner Coltrane parking lot, which is probably going to be called the Gardner Coltrane parking lot pretty soon. The stadium parking deck, you really can't miss that if you're home to the west side. We have the Bodenheimer auxiliary parking lots, Mountaineer area. We have the Mountaineer parking lot itself, Appalachian Heights parking lot. So you go a little further up that hill, up that mountain, you see all these parking lots I'm referencing. And that hill, the mountain I'm talking about, is the hill that leads directly to the baseball stadium or the softball areas too. So in addition to the parking lots, we have the Greenwood parking lot, which is massive, and a lot of students park there. We have the South parking lot, we have the softball lot, and we also have Top of the Rock. So just be on the lookout for those lots there. Now, there's going to be some faculty and staff parking lots that have very particular rules to them, where it says staff parking only between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., I've seen a lot of students park in some of the parking lots that feature that signage. But please look at the signage and the parking decal that you have that relates to your vehicle. We do not want you to get ticketed by our parking services. If you do get ticketed, go to the River Street parking deck and try to pay that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably just some final remarks. One thing we didn't cover that I meant to mention a little bit earlier, there are vending machines in every building, and you can use your meal money to use those to buy things from the vending machines. Those are a great resource if that's not if you're not looking to go to the dining hall that day, you can grab a soda or some pop, or just a Hot Pocket. There's different kinds of things you can buy from these vending machines. So just definitely pay attention to those resources. So Jawoin, do you want to close this out?
Yeah, I guess I'll close this out here. If you guys have any further questions, just email the following email address. Hopefully it'll go across the screen. I'm not sure if we have that, but it'll be housing@appstate.edu. They can answer some of your questions, or when you get here on campus, you just have a question that, it's probably not going to be email. You just want to blurt it out to your RA or even your RD or coordinator. We can help answer your questions or get you pointed in the right direction. And that is the intent with this presentation to you guys, this session, these series of videos, is to point you in the right direction and kind of answer some of your questions before you arrive on campus. So I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to two of us talk about some of the funnest things to do on campus here. I hope to see you next year or this upcoming academic year. Thank you.
Have a nice day.